or appearing weak or losing face. Suddenly my wallet appeared, thrown down with a slap on my clothes. The other soldier lifted the kid out of the water and not too gently put him on the beach, sputtering and gasping. I came to war to become a man in some primal sense. I stood on the beach thinking I had become a man and wondered just what kind of a man I had become. So from our standpoint, we went in and flew in to Cambodia for missions, but it was never politically announced. In fact, it was politically denied by President Johnson that we were not fighting in Cambodia. So it wasn't just a Vietnam War. You see the Sihanouk Trail? Everybody see that? Okay, well that's a trail that if I were you, I would research a little bit, because it's very interesting how that developed into a main supply train. You got the Piedmont area. Well, the Piedmont area was really where a lot of stuff happened because it was flat, okay, it was forested. And how many did I discuss about snakes last time? There are 200 snakes in Vietnam. 50 are poisonous. All right, so about I would say maybe 3,000 to 4,000 Americans died from snake bites and from booby traps and stuff like that. But there was a snake called the Malaysian trait, the Malaysian crate, Krait, and we call it the two-step snake, because if it bit you, you could take 2 steps and die. That's how quickly you died from it. Now we're getting into Benoit, okay, a major base with multiple airstrips. Benoit was very close to Saigon, 30 miles, and about 30 miles from our forward supply bases, Phuc Vinh and Phu Loy. The North Vietnamese moved down the Ho Chi Minh Trail, and they also built huge cities underground. So I'll be showing you the Cu Chi tunnels. Ever hear of the Cu Chi tunnels? Anybody? Okay, so the Cu Chi tunnels was the main evidence of where they would have a full hospital underground, a school underground, a living quarters underground, and it was very difficult for the Americans to get to them. Okay, well, that particular product would be dropped from a plane, okay, and dropped into the ground, and would stand 4 feet above the ground, and it could detect movement in a large area surrounding, and it would send a signal, okay, either to a plane overhead of movement on the ground, or when we get into forward supply bases, we'll show you how they had communication centers. You had, again, the North Vietnamese, okay. The North Vietnamese carried a M78 rocket launcher, okay, generally anti-tank gun rocket, and the you had the Viet Cong, okay, and the Viet Cong, you could tell, were in black pajamas. The interesting thing about the Viet Cong were that their sandals were made from old tires. So they wore, as you can see, rubber sandals made of old tires. That's a typical hooch, which is protected, a place where you stay, which is protected by sandbags from enemy fire, supposedly. That's me on a C-47. C-47 was called Puff the Magic Dragon, or Snoopy, because it had Gatling guns. It could put a bullet every square foot of the size of a football field when it flew. We were always glad to see a Huey because it was either bringing something or taking somebody back to get medical help, okay, or ferrying out a body, one of the three. Okay, that's a 105 millimeter howitzer. Um, um, Being close to those is one of the reasons why I lost 40% of my hearing. Viet Cong booby traps were generally on main trails. When you did, when you got outside of a supply base and you did recon and so forth, you stayed off the main trails. At least the smart people stayed off the main trails. So, but the booby traps, they would be in the ground. They would have punji stakes. They'd have tin can grenades attached to a tripwire, spike balls, not too many spike balls, and then the bow and arrow, which was very effective on a tripwire. And the problem that you had with the booby traps was they didn't kill very many people. The people died from dirt in the wounds, poison on the arrows, and so forth. They had to be transported out quickly, and that was a difficult situation as best. So that's the booby traps that's going on. We lived outside the perimeter walls when we were at our main base, and um, we needed protection. And the best protection you could have was a little kid like this who knew everything that was going on. 9-year-olds in Vietnam are equivalent to 25-year-olds here in the United States, both in mentality, okay, and ability and stature. Some of them were even more progressed. Nuoc Mam is a fish sauce that the Vietnamese put on everything, everything. But if it's made right, it's glorious. So if you go to a Vietnam restaurant here, the first thing you ask them is the Nuoc Mam made here at the restaurant? And if it is, then it's worthwhile saying probably. If it isn't, then, I mean, it doesn't have big chunks of fish or anything. It's got all kinds of stuff in it. And so Ton's wife makes great Vietnamese meals. But Ton and I are good friends today. And if you read the letter, he calls me VC, Viet Cong, because I left him there. And I told him I'd bring him back, and I did bring him back. And it took about a year and a half to do. And I feel very proud of that because I did what I said I would do. Go ahead. Is that you?